Stop Chasing Purpose, Alan Watts reveals a better way to live. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with this unshakable feeling that you're meant for something more? That there's a deeper reason you're here? That your life needs a purpose for it to be complete? For you to finally feel like you matter? I've been there too. Most of us have. And for a long time I chased that elusive purpose like it was some golden prize waiting at the end of a long, painful race. But what if I told you that the very act of chasing it, not the lack of purpose, is what keeps us stuck? What if the whole idea of needing a purpose is a trap, a cleverly disguised form of suffering? That's what Alan Watts believed. And today we're going to explore how his radical ideas can free us from the biggest lie we've been sold about life. From the moment we're born, society begins whispering to us, then shouting, "Find your purpose." It's in the books we read, the movies we idolize, even in our schools. What do you want to be when you grow up? Is usually the first existential question we're ever asked, and we answer it before we've even learned to question anything at all. We internalize this belief that we must become something in order to matter, that we must do in order to be. So we start running. We chase careers, relationships, status, and meaning like they're Pokemon, and we're stuck in some endless game that never actually ends. Because guess what? It doesn't. There's always another level, another purpose to fulfill.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But Alan Watts, the Zen philosopher who translated Eastern wisdom for the Western mind, challenged that entire premise. He asked, what if life isn't a journey with a destination at all, but more like a piece of music? Think about it. When you listen to a beautiful song, you don't fast forward to the end just to get it over with. You experience it. You let it wash over you. You dance with it. You immerse yourself in the melody, the rhythm, the highs and lows. The value of the song is the experience of listening, not the conclusion. So, why don't we live our lives that way? The problem is, we've been conditioned to treat life like a business transaction. We think, if I do this, then I'll get that. If I work hard now, I'll be happy later. If I find my purpose, then I'll finally be at peace. But peace doesn't work that way. Fulfillment doesn't work that way, and neither does life. Watts said that the desire for security and purpose is actually a form of anxiety. It's our fear of uncertainty trying to lock the world into a neat little box. But life is uncertainty. It's spontaneous, it's wild, it's jazz, not math. And in trying to force it to be something else, we miss the entire point. Oh, I know what you're probably thinking, but don't I need a reason to get out of bed? Don't goals and dreams matter? Of course they do, but the problem arises when we attach our identity to those goals, when we start believing that our worth is conditional upon achieving them. That's when purpose turns poisonous. Because it's no longer a tool, it becomes a prison. Let me ask you something. If you suddenly lost everything, your job, your titles, your sense of direction, who would you be? Would you still matter? Would you still be? Most of us would panic. We'd feel lost, maybe even worthless. And that's the giveaway. That shows just how much we've built our sense of self on something external, something fragile, something that can be taken away. Watts proposed something radical. What if you trusted life? What if you stopped trying to control it, to define it, to squeeze meaning out of it like juice from a lemon? What if you just lived it? Fully, deeply, moment by moment. Not because you're trying to get somewhere, but because this moment right now is it. This is the only life you'll ever have. Not the one you're chasing. Not the imaginary future where everything finally makes sense. Just this, here. And this isn't about giving up or being lazy. It's not nihilism, it's the opposite. It's about waking up to the miracle of existence. It's about realizing that the wave doesn't need to become the ocean. It already is the ocean. You don't need to become someone special. You already are, simply by being alive. That's the secret Watts was trying to tell us. That's the freedom we've been too busy chasing to notice. So ask yourself this: if I didn't need a purpose to be valuable, how would I live today? What would I stop doing? What would I start doing? Here's the thing, the more we chase purpose, the more it runs away. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more you lose. But if you relax, if you stop grasping, it settles. It stays. In the same way, meaning in life isn't something you find at the end of the road. It's something that arises naturally when you're fully present, fully alive, fully engaged in the dance of existence. And maybe that's the real tragedy of chasing purpose. It keeps us from actually living. It seduces us with the promise of someday, while robbing us of the only time that ever truly exists. Now, why the search for meaning is making you miserable? We've been taught that the most noble quest in life is to find meaning. It's romanticized in films, celebrated in books, and preached from every corner of modern culture. Find your why, they say, discover your true calling. But here's something most people will never tell you. The relentless pursuit of meaning can actually make you miserable. Not because meaning is bad, but because the search itself becomes a trap. It's like trying to find the edge of the sky. The more you chase it, the more it moves. And Alan Watts saw this illusion for what it really is, a mind game we play with ourselves, one rooted in fear, not freedom. You see, the moment you start searching for meaning, you're actually declaring that this moment, right here, right now, isn't enough. You're saying, this can't be it. There must be something more. And in doing so, you devalue the present. You place all your hope in some distant, imagined future where everything finally makes sense. But life doesn't reveal itself in grand epiphanies. It unfolds in the small, quiet spaces between things. In the laughter with a friend, the way sunlight filters through the trees, the feeling of breath entering and leaving your lungs. These moments are not waiting rooms for meaning, they are the meaning. Watts once compared this to dancing. The point of dancing isn't to arrive at a particular spot on the floor, the point is the dance itself. And yet we go through life like it's a checklist, like we're trying to get somewhere. We treat happiness and fulfillment as destinations. We say things like, once I get this job, then I'll be happy. Once I find the right partner, then I'll feel complete. Once I discover my purpose, then my life will begin. But here's the deep irony. Every time you reach one of those goals, the satisfaction is fleeting. It fades. And then you're on to the next thing. The goalposts move. The hunger returns. It's a treadmill with no finish line. Because we're afraid. We're terrified of the idea that life might not have a fixed meaning, that maybe there's no grand narrative, no cosmic mission waiting to be unlocked, that maybe life just is, and for the ego, that's unbearable. Because the ego wants control, it wants certainty, it wants to feel important, and so it invents this idea that you must earn your place in the world by discovering and fulfilling some divine purpose. But what if that's just another story? What if the real source of your suffering isn't the lack of meaning, but the belief that you need meaning in the first place? Let me ask you something. If someone told you definitively that there was no ultimate purpose to life, no hidden mission, no grand design, would that make your life less beautiful? Would your relationships matter less? Would love become meaningless? Or would it actually free you to experience life more deeply, more authentically, without constantly trying to make it add up? This is the uncomfortable truth that Watts dared to confront. The need for meaning is a form of psychological resistance. It's our mind trying to impose order on something that is inherently fluid, dynamic, and alive. And by demanding that life have a purpose, we often miss the wonder of it. We trade presence for projection. We live in our heads, not in our hearts. But here's the twist. When you stop demanding that life give you meaning, something magical happens. You begin to notice the richness that was always there, the way a child laughs, the taste of fresh fruit, the sound of rain tapping against your window. You realize that life doesn't have to be about something to be profound. It is something, and that something is enough. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling into that familiar question, what's the meaning of all this? Pause, take a breath, look around, feel the texture of the moment. You're not lost, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're alive. And maybe, just maybe, that's all the meaning you'll ever need. Let go or be dragged, the illusion of control and the wisdom of surrender. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold everything together. Our plans, our identities, our relationships, our futures, as if the universe is some wild animal that will devour us the moment we loosen our grip. We create elaborate systems of control, schedules, goals, milestones, and mental blueprints for how life is supposed to go. We do this because we think we can outsmart chaos, outmaneuver fate, or at the very least, minimize the unknown. But Alan Watts pointed out something we rarely confront. Control is an illusion, and the more we cling to it, the more life resists. The tighter you hold the rope, the more it burns your hands. Think about it. When was the last time things went exactly as you planned? Have you ever truly predicted the trajectory of your life? We like to pretend we're in charge, but the truth is, we're floating in a river far more powerful than we can comprehend. And that's not a tragedy, that's liberation, if you're willing to see it that way. Watts used the metaphor of water often. He said that the key to life isn't resisting the flow, but learning to water doesn't resist. It moves around obstacles, it adapts, it yields, and yet it wears down mountains. That's the paradox. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. But surrender doesn't come naturally to us. We've been taught that letting go is the same as giving up, that if we're not fighting, striving, hustling, then we're falling behind. But Watts would ask, behind what? Behind who? Who set the finish line you're racing toward? Was it truly you? Or was it a collection of inherited expectations, parents, teachers, culture, social media? We spend our lives chasing someone else's vision of success, terrified that if we don't keep up, we'll be left behind. But what if the real strength lies not in holding on, but in releasing what was never ours to begin with? Letting go doesn't mean abandoning responsibility. It means releasing the illusion that you can or should control outcomes. It means showing up fully, honestly, and doing what you can, but understanding that the results are not entirely yours to dictate. It's the difference between planting a seed and demanding a tree grow overnight. You can water it, nourish it, give it sunlight, but the actual process of growth, that's not in your hands, and neither is much of life. Let me ask you something deeply personal. What are you holding on to right now that's actually holding you back? Is it an identity, a regret, a plan that no longer fits the person you're becoming? So many of us cling to a version of ourselves that no longer exists because we're afraid of who we might become if we let go. But here's the truth. You are not a fixed object. You are not a brand. You are a process, a verb, not a noun. Life isn't asking you to be consistent, it's asking you to be honest. And honesty often requires change. What's believed that much of our suffering comes not from life itself, but from our resistance to it. We want things to be different, to go our way, to align with our preferences. But life doesn't care about your preferences. It cares about aliveness. To surrender anything that keeps you from fully engaging with what is, whether it's fear, control, or clinging to the past, will eventually become your prison. Surrender in this light isn't passive. It's the active choice to stop swimming against the current. It's the courage to trust that the flow of life knows where it's going, even when you don't. And here's the beautiful twist. When you finally let go, when you stop trying to script every scene of your life like a movie director, something extraordinary happens. You begin to notice things you never saw before. Opportunities appear, serendipities unfold, conversations deepen. You stop acting your way through life and start living it, fully, rawly, authentically. It's like waking up from a dream where you were always chasing something and realizing the thing you were chasing was the freedom to just be. So, next time you feel the need to control, pause. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I surrender? And then ask the deeper question, what might be waiting for me on the other side of that fear? Because maybe the path to peace has never been about gaining control, but about learning to dance with the chaos. You were never broken. The myth of self-improvement and the truth about being. Everywhere we look, we're bombarded with the message that we are somehow not enough, that we need to fix ourselves, become better, smarter, more productive, more spiritual, more attractive, more something. The self-help industry thrives on this very assumption that you are incomplete and that by following a certain routine, philosophy, or mindset, you will finally become whole. But Alan Watts offered a radically different view, one that most systems avoid because it doesn't sell books or courses. He believed you were never broken to begin with. Let that sink in. You are not a project. You are not an equation waiting to be solved or a machine in need of optimization. You are a living, breathing expression of the universe itself, unfolding in real time. The myth of self-improvement is alluring because it gives us a sense of control, a way to measure progress. but it also keeps us locked in a subtle form of self-rejection. It whispers, "You are not okay as you are." And so we delay our joy, our peace, and our self-acceptance until we hit some imaginary milestone. And then, if we're lucky, we might permit ourselves to rest. But the goalposts always move, because the system is designed that way. Watts warned us about this trap. He said that the desire to improve oneself is like trying to lift yourself up by your own bootstraps. It's a paradox. You can't get out of the ego using the ego. You can't perfect the self when the very idea of a fixed self is an illusion. What we call the self is just a collection of thoughts, memories, roles, and beliefs. It's not a solid object, it's more like a cloud, shifting, evolving, impossible to pin down. And yet we cling to it, defend it, and try to improve it like it's a broken toy. But what if you stopped trying to be better and just started being? Not in a passive, lazy way, but in a deeply conscious, present, and loving way. What if your so-called flaws weren't mistakes but features of your unique expression? What if your life wasn't a problem to solve, but a mystery to experience? That's what Watts was pointing to, not a better version of you, but a freer experience of being you. So here's the final, most important question. Who would you be if you stopped trying to become someone else? Sit with that. Because the truth is, all your efforts to transform, to transcend, to become better, are often just veiled forms of resistance. Resistance to who you are. Resistance to this moment. Resistance to your own perfectly imperfect humanity. Watts didn't want us to become something. He wanted us to remember something. That we are already it. That the game isn't about arriving, but about waking up to the fact that we've always been enough. That we've never been separate from life, from truth, from the divine. We've just been looking in all the wrong places. So stop chasing, stop fixing, stop waiting. You are not a purpose to be found. You are the music. Play